Understanding margins and tabs is very important in Microsoft Word 2007. Although you will not see this as a specific examination detail, it will indeed be within the examination. A common question that may come up would be, how do I ensure that numbers align to a decimal place on a printed page? The answer? Use a decimal tab. There are a number of different tab stops that can be set in Microsoft Word. Let's look at these on the screen. First, I'd like you to notice the alignment. See how my ones align to the left, how they appear to be centered, how they align to the right, and how they align to the decimal place. These are the commonly used tab stops within Microsoft Word. To set each of these tabs, I simply click on the screen. The default tab is your left alignment. To choose another style of alignment, we will go over to the left-hand side of the screen and we will switch the tab stop. Notice how my cursor is right next to the tab stop itself. When I change it, it has now gone to a center tab. Should I click anywhere on my ruler, I've just set the center tab. Notice the center tab looks like a T to indicate that you will be actually aligning these into the center. If I click on my tab again, you'll notice now it goes to the right tab. Once again, and I go to the decimal tab. Wherever I click, that is the type of tab that I will be setting. What you will notice is that once you set a tab, when you go to the next line, it will align automatically. First, when I go to the left, everything aligns to the left. Then, when I go to the center, everything aligns to the center. If I go to the right, it all aligns to the right. And finally, if I'm using a decimal, it will always align to the decimal. Notice that in the case of the decimal tab, if I type in text, it defaults to a left alignment. Now I chose to just use the same word over and over so you get the feel of the alignment. Let's do the same thing with numbers. I'll tab over and I'll type in 12.3. On the center, 12.3. On the right, 12.3. And finally on the decimal, 12.3. The next line down will continue the alignment based on what I have selected. Now you will notice in this case, since they are all three spaces, they align the same way. But what if we add a 4 to the back of the alignment? Notice how each moves over differently from the others. The decimal stays on the decimal, the right stays on the right, the center remains on the center, and the left remains on the left. It's important to understand how you're setting these margins within Microsoft Word. Another important feature when working with margins and tabs is understanding bullet points and how bullet points are arranged on the screen. Remember earlier we noted that the bullets are in paragraph along with the numbers. You can quickly shift from a bullet point to a number by using that portion of the toolbar. What I'd like you to note is how we are aligned with our tabs. Notice there's a tab on top of the actual line index. Remember, when working with margins inside of Word, we have two triangles in the square. This controls the margin of the page. On the right hand side, we have simply a triangle to control the margin. The gray area represents your dead space on the printer. When typing in an actual bullet, you will notice that it changes the alignment to have the first line be the number and the second line to be the text. When I go into a point and I hit an enter key, it automatically adds a new number. Notice it's saying that the first line is lining up with the 1, the second line is lining up with the tab. When we go in and have 2 points and want to put in a second line, you will note that we'll have to adjust the first line also. If I move my tab over, what will happen is when I'm going to do this first line, my alignment will not be correct. The tab defaults it back to just being a point. When I want that second line in, instead of hitting an enter key, I'm going to hit a shift enter. Notice how that keeps everything in alignment but does not put in a number. If I delete it, I'm back on the same line. So an enter key gives me a new point. Backspace will then remove the point and line it up with the second point. Without the tab key in there, I will have a normal alignment and my bullet points or numbers will not correlate correctly on the screen. Play around with your bullets and with your numbering to see how it looks on the screen. Also remember, if you'd like to move in the bullet points without affecting the size of your font, use your indexing keys that decrease it or increases. Notice when I increase the actual index, it moves my bullet points on the screen. I can also decrease those items. Traditionally, if we use the tab key, you'll notice that my points are changing as I go through the screen. A way to avoid this is rather than actually inserting a new tab, I'll use the index button on the top of the screen.